safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarcia on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I am your host, Tarcia Smith, and welcome back to another week, another story, another journey. And before I get started, you already know to like, follow, subscribe, do all the things, and tell all your friends to come and do the same things. So, enough of that. Without further ado, we have a fellow adoptee today. Her name is Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for wanting to come and share your story. So, everybody always knows that my favorite first question is, how old were you when you found out you were adopted?
Okay, and it's a great first question. I've always known. So my parents never hid it. It was
Okay.
woven into the stories they told me about myself.
Okay.
The encouragement they gave me to find out where I was from when the time came, and so it's never been a secret.
Oh, okay. So, being that it was never a secret, if you don't mind me asking, roughly about how old are your parents?
Both of my adopted parents are deceased.
Okay.
But when I was adopted, my parents were older. My adopted mom was in her 40s, and my adopted father, I think, was in his late 40s, early 50s.
Okay. I love that you were raised knowing it wasn't a secret, so you didn't have that burden to carry like some adoptees that
Yes.
find out when they're 53, because we've had that happen.
Yes, I've seen stories. I have.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about being adopted growing up? Was it something that you were excited about or ashamed of? Which one?
So I was a mix. I was always a mix. On the one hand, because of how my family, my parents that adopted me, it wasn't a secret. My adopted mom, she told me all the tea she had that anybody had given her.
Oh, we're
And
gonna
so
get
I
into
had,
that.
okay, I was like thankful. So it wasn't a shame. But then on the flip side, being adopted, you'd get comments from extended family members, from people in the community. Like you could just, for me personally, um, I could feel a little shame. And it was just because I kept having reminders that I was an outsider, if that makes
Oh,
any sense.
what kind of
Just,
comments were you getting? Do
I
you
mean, when I would play with
remember?
my cousins when we were little, they just be like, "You're not a real member of the family." My mom said
Oh,
you were adopted. So when that came up, that would cause me to
yeah.
feel ways. But it wasn't coming from my parents that adopted me. It was
Yeah, yeah,
coming from
yeah.
like
Outside
gossip,
people.
community gossip. Yeah.
Right. Did you tell your parents that that was happening? Or you
No,
just kind
I
of,
did. I did not until as an adult. And when I was 14, my adopted mother died. So then it was my
okay.
father. As an adult, I started telling them just a little bit, but I still didn't just indulge it all or say how I felt fully.
Right.
Mm.
Oh, that's so, okay. So outsiders were making you feel a way,
It would
but you
come from
weren't. Right. And I'm sure it's just, kids just be talking and repeating what they're hearing in the home. I bet you they
Mhm.
didn't like for real know what they were saying. They just doing what kids do.
But as an
So,
adult, I'm realizing, to your point, if kids were repeating what was being said, though,
yeah, yeah.
the adults were
The
saying it.
adults.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
for
Sorry.
sure. For sure. So you said that they had the tea. So let's get into the tea. um, look, ready.
Okay, same. I got a cup right
Ready.
here.
So, what did you grow up knowing about I'll start with your birth mom. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me back up. Was it a closed or open adoption?
It was closed. And so,
Okay. So, all right. So, what information did they give you about your birth mom?
well, my adopted mom growing up, she told me that the people at the agency and maybe someone like behind the scenes told her like my mom's occupation, which had been just like general secretarial work. She told me that she had other kids. And so my adopted mom would be like, you have other siblings out there,
Mm-hmm.
and that it had been an abusive situation. She knew that. And that's all she had. So that's what she told me.
Oh, Okay. And anything about your birth father?
No. And nothing was in the records at all.
Okay. That's common, unfortunately.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
birth mom, she stated like she didn't want to put any information, identifying information about him because he had been a prominent social activist in the community, and I don't think she wanted to mess up his reputation.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So you said, okay, so I'm going to back up just a little bit too, because you did say something that caught my attention. So your mom passed away at 14 and then dad steps in. So
Yes.
was it just you and your dad? Are there other siblings in the home?
So both of my adopted parents had their own set of children, but they were way much older than me. And
Okay.
then before they adopted me, they had adopted my sister from a different family. So it had been
Okay.
me and my sister growing up.
Okay.
'Cause we were
So,
just a few years apart in age. Yeah.
okay. So your dad and you, and then your sister.
Yes, but she was older than me, so she lived in a different city and had, left to work and just kind of find her own way. So
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna get back to the birth parents, but let me ask this. What was it like growing up at this point just with dad?
my dad was like, I don't know nothing about girl stuff. So he encouraged me to have like my earring fell out.
That's
He
okay.
encouraged me to have like my godmother. He encouraged me to be close with other women. He would encourage me just to form relationships outside of him so that I could get help with like the women's stuff because I
Okay.
was 14
Yeah.
going into high school,
Yeah. And
and you
all
know what
the
a tough age that is.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he
Okay.
was just like, I can't help you with that, but let me point you in the direction of people who can.
Okay. So it sounds like he was still doing the fatherly thing,
Yeah.
but he needed some outside help because this
Yeah,
girl's going to high school and doing all the things
the
and
things. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna direct you here. So he was
okay.
good in that regard, like always encouraging. Yeah, my dad was great.
Okay. Okay. All right, so let me loop back around. Sorry,
Mhm.
my little brain is all over the place. Okay, so with your birth mom, you
Mhm.
have this information. She doesn't want to give up anything about your birth father, being
Yes.
that who he is. So at what age do you decide I'm going to step out and begin to try and figure out who these people are?
The first time I decided to do it, I was 20 years old. And I was like, let me figure this out. And then I can't remember exactly what happened, but I paused it. Now, one thing my father always told me growing up, he would be like, you should find your family, but you should wait until you're secure in your life because you don't know what you're going to find
Mm,
and it could throw you off.
I
He was
love
like,
that he told you
just,
that.
yeah, he always preached it. And so, for whatever reason, I paused. And then when I was about 28, fast forward, so I was finished
Hmm.
with undergrad. I had gotten married by then. So I felt secure. I was in my life, like I felt like I was
Right.
an adult. I was doing me,
Uh huh.
and I picked it back up. And when I picked it back up, I wrote to the state that I was adopted in to get my records unsealed. They assigned me a caseworker.
Oh, wait, stop. Oh, I
Okay.
gotta ask. That sounds too easy. So you wrote and the state was just like, okay, you didn't have to jump through flaming fiery hoops.
Well, you write to the state and
Okay.
then they assign you a person and then they say, well, this is what's in your record, which wasn't much still. There was not too
Uh,
many additions to what my adopted parents had already had,
okay.
which was just
What did you learn that they hadn't already told you?
the tea, honey. So when they assign, so when they
Here we go.
assigned, okay, listen, I'm not mad about that branding. When they assigned the caseworker, which was a social worker, the social worker then follows up with me via phone call and asked me a few questions and was like, hey, I just want to know, how was it for you growing up? And I was like, it was good. And she was just like, well, why do you want to know your birth mom? Like what's
Why
making
do
you
people
search?
ask that question?
She was like, what's making you search for? And I was like, do you know your mom?
That part.
And she said, give me 10 minutes. I'm going to call you from a different number. She calls me from a different number. She does something she's not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And she says, you have all the information you need to find her. The information you have on your birth certificate is not a fake name. Because in my records, it had stated that my birth mother gave a fictitious name. She said, no, she didn't. You got what you need.
Okay. Pause.
Exactly.
Pause. Hold
I
on.
was shook.
Pause. First question. Your birth name, was it changed or did they keep your name?
So I was born and immediately placed into foster care.
Okay.
And so the foster care lady, the foster care mother, she gave me a different name. But when I was adopted permanently, my adopted mom kept my first name. And then she gave me her middle name. So she kept the first name that my birth mother gave me and gave me her middle name.
Okay. So my second question, um, when you get this copy of this original, let me back up. Did you get a copy of the original birth certificate, or if that's something, um,
They sent it to me. So when I
okay,
wrote to the state, they was like, this is all we have, which was what I had always had the whole time. But because the record stated that she had given a fictitious name, I thought this was a made up name.
right. Okay. So now you're processing, oh my gosh, I've really had all this information all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Now I wait a whole year and a half because I'm shook. I am shooketh.
Shook it.
Shooketh. I was like, okay. So I wait, you fast forward about a year and a half, and I felt like it was time. And
Okay,
so what I
pause.
did,
Pause, pause, pause. You're still married at this time, right?
I'm still married.
What kind of support is your husband giving you?
Oh my God, tremendous support. He's like, when you're ready, whenever you're ready. So, there's
Okay.
no pressure. I sat with it. I sat with it for a long
Is
time.
your father still alive when you found out this information?
He was.
And what did he say?
I didn't tell him. I just sat
Oh,
with it.
that's a lot to just.
But it threw me. I was like, the heck do you mean? It threw
So
me.
you went from wanting to find out and then you got shook when you found out, oh, I
That
know
I could easily just
that you could
access
just,
this information.
that's scary.
And I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to shift something. And so I
Okay.
waited.
All right.
But I can't tell you now what made me wait.
Shook.
That, that part.
I can understand on one hand you think I don't have the real information,
Mm-hmm.
and then to totally flip it and be like, "Oh, I really have the information."
And I've had it
And
this whole
it
time.
made you step back from I get it. I
Yeah, because
get it.
this is Pandora's box. This is the
Right.
door. This is the thing, right? That you think you want. So let me make
Until it
sure.
falls in your lap. Okay, so that year and a half and then you decide what's the first step you take.
I was praying about it. I'm a believer, so I was praying, and I just took it. I took it straight to Google. I just Googled it. I was like,
Google
boom,
is
I
our
got her
friend,
name.
isn't it?
Okay. I was like, yes, I have this name. Google. Google and a background search. And I paid $30 for this. So
Okay.
like some background, you can just search.
Mhm.
Like it's so
Mhm.
scary. That's what I did. I Googled it. I go to the background search. The background search immediately produces the information that she's deceased. Deep breath. Boom. I'm finna Google your obituary because that's public record.
Right.
Obituary, $2.99. Boom. Download it.
The
Down.
only thing about obituaries, which I have learned, people could put whatever they want in the obituary. For the most part, they're accurate.
Mm,
But
that's a good point.
there could be a little here and there. But what did you learn?
Well, what I did was pull names.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I pulled names and I went straight to Facebook.
So how long has she been deceased?
She had been deceased that point for like 7 or 8 years.
Wow. What's
It had,
interesting about that, right around the time that you initially thought about, if I'm doing my math right, because you said around 20 and then about 28 is when you, oh, but you slept on it for a whole year. So
and I had,
close to around the time that you first initially thought you might have wanted to do this.
if I would have initially done it, I would have been able to meet her, but I don't think I was ready.
20, probably not.
It's
Probably not. Probably not. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you go Googling these folks' names, and then what?
I go to Facebook and I
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
up the people, and then I find who I think is one of my sisters, and she has a post of her little girl, and her little girl looked like I could have had her myself. It
Wow.
was so scary to
Isn't
me,
that
and I was
isn't that something to see?
like, for the first time,
Yeah.
especially when you've spent a lifetime without the reflection of somebody,
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard to explain to people
No,
that don't
it,
experience it. And
right, but I get it. Been there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I reached out to who I think is my biological brother. I sent a friend request, and he immediately accepted it. And then I messaged him.
What did you say?
I was like, "Hey, I've been searching. I think we may be related. Blah blah blah." But he immediately accepted my Facebook request, but he didn't look at the message for a minute. He just accepted it, and that was that.
Okay.
So it took 3 weeks before he looked at the message.
Okay.
So 3 weeks, I'm just waiting. I'm praying. This was during like the church I attended at the time. They did
Mm-hmm.
21 days of prayer. So for 3 weeks, I was just sitting with this, and I was just like, okay, I did the thing. I'm praying. I'm processing. I'm just,
Yeah.
you know.
Then he reads the message and your
And
heart
then
falls to
one
the
day,
floor.
yes, and then one day the message come was like, oh my God, we've been looking for you. I've been looking
Okay,
for
hold on. I have
you.
to say this, and I say this every single time. And I have to say it. I'm going to continue to say it because there are a lot of people out there that are afraid to search
Mm.
because they think the rejection is waiting for them. You never know. Somebody might be looking for you. Somebody has not forgotten about you. Somebody might even know you exist. I just had to put that TSA,
Mhm.
Tarcia service announcement out there. Again,
Somebody knows.
somebody knows something.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
It's a scary thing. And then he's like, this is what our mom told me to tell you on her deathbed. This is what she left. Yeah.
Got a message waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm about to tear up. Yeah.
Me, I.
Like she didn't forget about you. Just it came out, and he just it's long text message. Call me now, and I sat on the floor. I'm screaming. My husband's down. He's like, ah! He's crying. I'm crying.
Wait. It's a message. And this is like when he finally sees your message, this is like the first conversation that you all are having.
He's like long message back.
Yeah.
Call me. So I
Well,
sit there for like probably an hour before I
okay,
pick
girl, I thought you was going to say another year and a half. I was getting ready to come through this computer, getting
God
ready to
would reach.
reach. So you call him, and then what is the
He's
message
like,
that was waiting for you?
he was just like, mom just wanted you to know she didn't mean for it to happen, blah, 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 blah. Just all the things.
Oh, you can't go blah, blah, blah. We need to know what happened. If
Pretty
you
much,
don't mind telling that story.
pretty much the background to my story about my mom, who had been in an abusive relationship, had
Okay, so
kept
that part was true.
that part was true.
Okay.
I had been a secret. She had 3 kids already. I was the
Okay.
fourth.
Okay.
I was a secret, and she was trying to handle it on her own.
Mhm.
But she had left an abusive relationship, had gotten into another abusive relationship,
Mm.
was living back at home. So she didn't have a good job. She didn't have good resources, and it was just a bad situation. And I don't think she even told I don't think she told my birth father at all. Because again, I think she was leaving that situation,
Okay.
and he was just like, she told me to tell you she was
Do
sorry.
you feel in that moment when you hear those words?
I felt relief. I
Mm.
felt, because you don't know what you're gonna find,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Am I intruding on something? I felt guilt that I didn't reach out sooner, so she could
Mm.
say it to me. I felt a lot of things, but I felt mostly relieved to know that I had been wanted. That's what I felt.
Did you feel grief being that she was no longer here? Did you grieve that?
I grieved it for a few years. It was like hard, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I spent my whole life like, this is all I wanted was just to meet my birth mom, and I can't. And so it was
Mm.
hard to process. It was hard to process.
Now, are you in the same state of your siblings are in?
At the time, I was in the same state,
Okay.
and so it was easy to like go connect. Now I live in Maryland, but then I was in the same state.
Okay. So, how long does it take you to go connect in person? Because I would have been there that day.
I mean, I take my time. I'm like, oof. Um,
We
I'm
move
like,
real different.
I don't. I'm afraid of being overwhelmed, and not able to process.
I'm
So
positive I would have been overwhelmed, but I still would have went.
it was a little bit over a month though. We set it up so because my brother was in California, so that he could fly in, and
Okay.
the family could all like extended
Yeah,
family. It
that's a
was
lot.
it was planned
That's a lot. So, you have one brother and two
two
sisters?
sisters. Yep.
Okay. Now, how are the sisters receiving you?
Yeah, we have a relationship. It's going good. It's family, you have to like figure out your place. This was like, it's been 10 years almost, I think. No,
Okay.
it's been over 10 years. So
Okay. So everyone knew you existed, but just no one knew where you were.
yes,
And
because of
you
how
were
adoption's set up, it's
right.
closed. And then I found out, I think from my brother, that my birth mom had reached out and someone told her like, you should just leave her alone. She probably has a good life and doesn't want to know you type
Mm.
crap that they say to people that they shouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
So discouragement from that end.
So do you look like your mother?
I look like an identical replica of her.
Wow.
Just also hard. Yes,
Oh, wow,
too.
wow. And so when you all finally get together, and I know that was overwhelming because I have been in those shoes.
But
Yeah, tell me about that day. What was that meeting like?
um, I mean, I don't want to say the word overwhelming, but it was a bit
Oh,
overwhelming
that's what it
emotionally.
was. Yeah.
Um, and I met my birth mom, like two of her sisters. I met
Okay.
another one of her brother and extended cousins, and but initially, I just met my two sisters and my brother at a restaurant. We just, met to sit down and meet for the first time, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was just hard because you go from not knowing to like now you're in this spotlight, and you are the secret that came out or whatever. You are,
Hmm.
essentially, you know.
Did you meet with any grandparents?
No,
Okay.
they're deceased.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to turn the corner. Birth father.
I never solved it fully.
Never.
Mm-mm, I didn't. I got.
You tell me the steps that you took to go looking.
Oh, I didn't. I just talked to my
Oh, you did
siblings.
not.
One of my sisters and myself has the same father, and
Oh,
she set up a meeting for us to talk over the phone. We spoke briefly, but he never admitted it, and he didn't. You know,
have you taken a DNA test, or do you? Maybe the question should be, do you want to take a DNA test?
I haven't taken one, and I'm about 95% sure that's him, so I don't really want to take one.
Why not?
Well, he's deceased now. He died a few years ago. So I could take it with my sister. But just I don't know, he was never my focus. And
It's
sometimes I
okay.
wonder, is it because, and it may be because my father that raised me, my father to me. So I don't know. I just didn't feel it in.
Mm,
I just didn't. Yeah.
that's interesting. What was that like for you when he passed away?
Oh, I think I still may be like, it was hard, and it was 2020,
Oh,
and
that's recent.
fairly recent. So it was really hard, and I did end up telling him that I had reconnected with my birth family.
Yeah, I was gonna loop back around. Be like, did you
Yeah,
ever tell? Okay.
I did, and I told him that I didn't tell him the part about the father stuff because I was like, because he never admitted it, and he was just a little bit abrasive. I wasn't gonna tell my father that. Like I
Wait
told
till
him,
the DNA test because I need to know all the things. But it's just me.
I was
Don't mind
like,
me.
I'm gonna put you back down. I'm gonna let this go. But I told him that my mom was deceased. He was like, I'm so sorry. He was like, I miss my mom every day. He was like, I'm so sorry. And so I told him a little bit, but I really keep it separate. Like I keep this here and this here. Just it's
Mm.
easier for me to process.
And the reason why I asked, because it sounded like you guys were really close. And the reason why I asked, did you tell them?
Mhm.
Because they were setting you up and encouraging you to go, find them. Be careful.
Yeah,
But so I think that it's a good thing that you told him.
I did. And I told my godmother. She passed away in 2017, but I told her too.
Okay.
And she was like, go to your mom's grave, you
Did you
know,
did
just
you do
put
that?
flowers there. She was just like, it's okay. I told her. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to ask because there's people out there again that
Hmm.
are searching, want to search, want to do the whole thing. Tell me what your relationship, because at this point it's been 10 years.
Hmm.
And I know that when you find these people, you just kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Hmm. Oh, Lord.
What, if you don't mind, tell me what that's look like for you, trying to form these bonds, these relationships. What does that look like?
Well, as you can guess, I go really slow and take my time.
Yeah,
I
girl.
do not have like pump brakes. I be like, because in reality, I'm still a wife.
Sure.
I was in school at the time. I'm still in school. I'm working on a PhD. I have the things that I'm like, if I allow myself to totally just be consumed by this, could jeopardize just how I function, because it's
Mm,
overwhelming. And the fact that, of course, my birth mother was already deceased, like you said, I
right.
had to grieve that. And so, I took my time, but it's good. Like, my older sister was just up here in July to visit me.
Okay.
I go to her place now, so I went for Mother's Day, and I spent that time with my aunts and my sisters and my niece, and I've been there for Thanksgiving, so it's good. I mean, I just take my time though. I
Do
definitely.
you find yourself separating um mentally is what I mean, separating your adoptive family and your birth family? Like these are two
Yes,
different.
on purpose. On purpose.
Okay, why?
Because it's so delicate to me. And I just feel like, I don't know how to say this, that it just belongs to me. So like, I don't know.
It's the perfect answer. It belongs to me.
As an
Yeah.
adoptee,
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
didn't about your identity belong to you for a long time. And that's just how I treat it.
I love that answer. I've never heard that answer, and that is the perfect answer. It belongs to me.
Hmm.
And it makes so much sense.
Unapologetically, for once, because as adoptees, you have these questions, you grapple, you don't know exactly where you land, and then I'm like, hey, this is mine.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I get that because I find myself doing that too. Like they're aware, they know,
Mhm.
you know, my family is very encouraging when I went through and finding, but I also find I keep it separate.
Mm.
And maybe that's why, because
Mm-hmm.
this is mine.
Because it's yours.
See, look at you helping me.
It's precious, you know. It's like something, I don't know. It's
Do you
precious.
have kids of your own?
Not yet.
Okay. I was going to just ask, how are they? Uh, how do you plan on handling that? Because that's like,
I
that's a
think I'm
story.
gonna
That's quite the story to tell them.
think I'm gonna write a children's book.
Okay.
And as as they're older, just tell them like this is my story. I put it in this format. So I'm gonna try to find a creative way to weave it in. I have been working on a story for years about a princess who doesn't know her family, and so I think I'm gonna probably be inclined to do it that way.
That's super dope. I love that.
But definitely honest, definitely the open book, you
Yeah,
know.
because now they're gonna grow up with, you have your, and I'm only using the word adoptive just so the listeners can understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
Your
yeah,
adoptive mother side, your adoptive father side, and then you have this whole other side, which is your biological side.
yeah. Hmm.
And most people don't have that, especially, for those of us that have gone looking. And I say all the time, I have three sides because I have what you have.
That's a good way to put it. Three
I
sides.
have three sides. Yeah. And my kids are growing up. Well, my older three are grown, but that younger one is growing up with these three sides.
Your son.
Yeah, my youngest, he just turned 14.
Yeah.
And so he's growing up knowing all these sides. And that's something to consider when you have kids and when you do this. How are you going to weave them in? And then
Hmm.
for you, now you have a story to tell.
Gonna have to because how else can you explain it?
Right. Right. I love how you went about all this. And the only thing I didn't love is how you took your time, but that's okay.
I was like, what am I supposed to do? I can't even tell you. I'm gonna have to remember what exactly made me be like that.
You know what? And each his own, and you move how you move, and you did what was right for you. Don't mind
Maybe
me.
I don't know.
Mind me.
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I don't know.
Because I go 100 miles per hour and somebody pull my coattail. Girl, come back. What you? So don't mind me. Don't. So if you had to say anything, give any advice to any person, any adoptee, I should say, that is thinking about the search and reunion journey, what would you say to them?
I would say first be a part of a community like the one you've created, other adoptee communities. I would say first be a part of communities where other people have experienced this. And I would say go forward and find the answers that you desire to find. And then maybe depending on how you are, have a therapist, find one that specializes in adoptee trauma, read the books, just support yourself and make sure that you nurture yourself through the process. No matter what anyone else thinks, no matter who feels like what, silence all of that and nurture yourself.
Because you brought it up real quick. Did you go to therapy?
I found a couple of therapists I tried, but they were like, you're okay. Like you're processing this. So now I just have like a therapist I go to like once a month, just on a regular. But as far as focusing in on that adoptee trauma,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "You're pretty well adjusted." It's
Were
like,
they
oh,
adoption, um, that like that was there? Okay.
I sought them out. So I don't know if I should have sought them out sooner, but I did find communities where I could be a part of, like a little group coaching one, and
Okay.
so yeah.
Okay. I love that. And I see why. If you don't mind telling the people, what are you working on for your PhD? What's your focus?
So I am in a women's spirituality program. I'm
Okay.
looking at Black women and shame and how they can heal from shame. And I did write about being a Black adoptee for a bit as one of my angles. But so yeah, I'm looking at Black women healing from shame.
So that means we have some phenomenal things that are going to be coming from you.
Thank you.
We
I
have to
received
keep
that. I take it.
absolutely. We have to keep. I got several of y'all. I have to keep my eyes on. I love it. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank you for coming and sharing your story with us.
Well,
And
absolutely.
don't leave. Hang on just one second. And
Okay.
on that note, bye, family.
Journey, journey on, journey, journey on. You need a pie with the good, good? Oh yeah, what is the one?